A very good evening. You're watching Primetime News on TV1. Bringing you the news this evening, I am Steven Machado.
And I'm Monel Kamaratunga. Let's start off with a look at your headlines for tonight.
The headlines on Newsfirst.
Central Highlands hit by heavy rains. Mahara, Kalani and Kalu rivers overflow. Rainfall expected to intensify from 6th August, warns Met Department. Authorities urge public to heed flood and landslide warnings. Ministers brief Mahanayaka Theros on proposal to extend judges' retirement age. SLPP General Secretary issues warning to Inspector General of Police.
This is Extreme Weather.
Taking a look at those stories in detail, several parts of Sri Lanka, including Navalapitiya and Nuwara, were inundated after experiencing intense rainfall within a short period, as severe weather conditions continue to impact the country.
Now, the Department of Meteorology says the prevailing rainy conditions are expected to ease slightly by tomorrow afternoon. However, rainfall activity is likely to intensify again from the 6th of August.
Krishan Devasagayan has more details. Krishan?
Thank you, Stevin and Onelka. Well, as we all know, Sri Lanka is currently grappling with a severe weather situation, with 4 people reported missing as of now. Authorities have ordered the closure of all schools in the Kandy and Nuwara districts tomorrow as heavy rains continue to batter the Central Highlands. The deteriorating conditions have prompted the Ministry of Defence to direct district secretaries to activate emergency response mechanisms and to strengthen disaster preparedness measures. Now, let's take a look at these incidents individually. In the first one, 4 people have gone missing after an earth embankment collapsed onto a house in Ginigathena this evening amid the continuing adverse weather conditions. The incident was confirmed to us by the Nuwara District Secretary. Now, all schools in the Kandy and Nuwara districts will remain closed tomorrow due to the prevailing heavy rainfall and adverse weather conditions. This decision was taken as continuous downpours continue to affect several parts of the central province, raising concerns over flooding, landslides, rockfall, and of course, transportation disruptions. The announcement was made by the Chief Secretary of the Central Province. Meanwhile, in a separate incident, the Ministry of Defence has instructed district secretaries to take all necessary measures to safeguard the public from potential disasters that may arise due to the prevailing severe weather conditions. In a statement, the ministry said suitable programs should be implemented to protect lives at all cost as well as property by activating village-level disaster management committees and strengthening preparedness for emergencies such as landslides and floods. The directive comes as adverse weather conditions continue to affect several districts, prompting authorities to intensify disaster response measures and preparedness efforts across vulnerable areas.
According to the Irrigation Department's rainfall monitoring system for major river basins, Navalapitiya recorded 271.8 millimeters of rainfall during the 24-hour period ending at 5 p.m. today. The figure represents the highest rainfall recorded in a major river catchment area. The rainfall contributes directly to the Mahara River basin. Kitulgala, which significantly influences water levels in the Kalani River, recorded 261.6 millimeters of rainfall, while 231.2 millimeters was recorded in Norwood. Ratnapura, which affects the Kalu River basin, received 113.2 millimeters of rainfall. Department of Meteorology data showed that the highest rainfall recorded during the 24-hour period ending at 8:30 a.m. today from Canyon, where 190 millimeters of rain was reported. Areas surrounding reservoirs including Kalupahana, Dikoya and Laksapana also recorded rainfall exceeding 100 millimeters. Amid the severe weather, a SLTB bus carrying passengers caught in strong floodwaters in the Ambagamo area along the Navalapitiya Ginigathena road. 5 young residents from the area intervened and successfully rescued all passengers, taking them safely to secure locations. By this afternoon, 250 families in the Pasbage Korale Divisional Secretariat Division of Navalapitiya had been relocated to welfare centres. A 67-year-old man lost his life after being buried under a collapsing earth embankment in the Cholakanda area of Navalapitiya. Police said the victim sustained injuries when an earth mound collapsed onto a shore and later died after being admitted to hospital. Several tributaries of the Mahara River overflowed, causing flooding in Bawagama Navalapitiya. Areas including Manyokavatta witnessed extensive flooding during the afternoon. Rising water levels in Kalpotha inundated numerous homes and business establishments. Floodwaters have affected Jasundra, Kitulkode, Bailey Road, Bawagama, Balanthoda and Pamankanda in Navalapitiya since last night due to rising water levels in the Mahara River. The Navalapitiya Dolosbage road was blocked near the second mile post after an embankment collapsed on the road. The Disaster Management Centre said debris removal operations commenced this morning. Several estate housing units in the great area of Dolosbage were also affected by the severe weather. Meanwhile, spill gates of the Kotmale Reservoir have been opened as water levels continue to rise. The Mahara River's water volume has increased significantly due to the ongoing rainfall, with water levels reported to be rising in the Peradeniya and Gatambe areas. The Geli Oya town along the Kandy Gampala main road remains inundated. In another incident, a monk was injured after an earth embankment collapsed onto the monastery residence at the Pabbatar Rama Viharya in Kotagala. Three spill gates of the Upper Kotmale Reservoir have opened automatically due to the increase in water levels. The resident irrigation engineer of the reservoir urged communities living along the banks of the Kotmale Oya to remain vigilant. St. Clair's Falls and Devon Falls were flowing at full strength this morning following the heavy rains. Flooding caused by an overflowing canal in the Hatton-Kotagala area submerged 36 houses, while approximately 200 people were relocated to safer locations. In Murugahakena, Hatton, overflowing waters from the Kalani River completely inundated sections of the Hatton-Colombo main road near Yatiyamtota. The road near Thaligama Hospital was also reported to be underwater. Meanwhile, the road between Ganethanna and Kaduganawa was temporarily closed this afternoon after mud and rocks fell onto the roadway. Road Development Authority teams are currently engaged in clearing operations. Traffic along the Hatton-Colombo main road was also disrupted in Quilwatta and Diagala areas following earth slips. In Kalawana, one spill gate of the Kukule Ganga Reservoir has been opened due to the continuing heavy rainfall. In addition, 8 of the 10 spill gates of the Polgola Reservoir were opened during the early hours of today as inflows increased. Adverse sea conditions also affected fishing activities, with fishermen refraining from venturing out to sea from Devatavalla, Jakotavalla, Rajgamvalla and Kadevalla fishing harbours in Gaul.
According to the Irrigation Department, the Mahaveli River has reached a major flood level in the Peradeniya and Navalapitiya areas. The Kalani River is at a minor flood level in the Kitulgala, Holombua, Daraniyagala and Norwood areas. The Kalu River has reached a minor flood level in the Ratnapura area. The Irrigation Department also issued a red flood warning for the Mahaveli River basin this afternoon. Accordingly, there is a risk of flooding within the next 48 hours in low-lying areas along the Mahaveli River that fall under the Divisional Secretariat divisions of Udunuvara, Udapalatha, Yatinuvara, Doluwa, Kotmale, Pasbage, Gangahila Korale, Pasbage Korale, Gangavata Korale, Haris Patwa and Pathadumbara. The Irrigation Department further stated in its warning notice that minor flooding may occur within the next 24 hours in low-lying areas belonging to the Divisional Secretariat divisions of Dompe, Sitavaka, Homagama, Kaduela, Biagama and Kolonava within the Kalani River basin. The Irrigation Department has also warned that minor flooding is likely during the next few hours in low-lying areas of the Kalu River floodplain within the Divisional Secretariat divisions of Palmadulla, Nivitigala, Ratnapura, Kuruvita, Ayagama and Alapatha in the Kalu River basin. Meanwhile, red landslide warnings have been issued for areas in 3 districts. The National Building Research Organisation, or the NBRO, stated that the warnings are in effect for Ududumbara, Gangahila Korale and Pasbage Korale in the Kandy district, Yatiantota in the Kegol district and Ambagamua and Norwood in the Nuwara Eliya district under evacuation level red alerts. Meanwhile, the Department of Meteorology today issued an advisory on strong winds. Accordingly, strong winds of 40 to 50 kilometers per hour can be expected at times in the north-central, northwestern, Sabaragamuwa, central and southern provinces as well as in the Trincomalee district. The Department of Meteorology has also issued a warning on strong winds and rough seas. According to the advisory, wind speeds in the sea areas extending offshore from Gaul to Hambantota via Pothuil may increase to 60 to 70 kilometers per hour at times. As sea conditions are expected to become very rough at times, the fishing and naval communities have been advised not to venture into these sea areas until further notice.
Now, what you just witnessed were the alarming visuals of the severe weather that took place over the past 24 hours in the Central Highlands. We saw waterfalls and rivers at full peak capacity, spill gates of many reservoirs being opened, and of course flooding across multiple districts that caused the loss of at least 1 life and 4 others reported missing as of now. We also saw that over the next 24 hours, the Irrigation Department has given warnings for minor floods to major flood levels in a number of districts, not just in the Central Highlands, but cascading all the way downstream and even coming to the Western Province and the Colombo areas. So the main question that rises from this is, was this level of rainfall expected, and what caused this situation? Here is the explanation from the Department of Meteorology.
If we look at weather patterns over previous years, the southwest monsoon has gone through periods of strengthening and weakening. Historically, there have been occasions when active southwest monsoon has brought significant rainfall during the month of August. This year, however, we did not initially expect such conditions because of the prevailing El Niño influence. But from yesterday onwards, we observed disturbances developing in the upper atmosphere. At the same time, there was a considerable amount of moisture present in the atmosphere. Over the past several days, we had continuously forecast an increase in wind speeds. As those winds strengthened, they carried large volumes of moisture directly towards the Central Highlands. As a result, the Central Highlands received the highest concentrations of rainfall. We expect the rainfall to continue tonight into tomorrow morning, particularly across Kandy, Norelia, the Sabragamo province and parts of the western province. However, we anticipate that the current atmospheric disturbance will gradually move away from tomorrow afternoon. Therefore, we expect a reduction in rainfall after midday tomorrow. That said, a typhoon is currently developing south of Japan in the Pacific Ocean. We are closely monitoring the situation. Although rainfall is expected to ease from tomorrow afternoon, we anticipate that the strengthening of this system could once again accelerate wind flows affecting Sri Lanka around the 6th of August. As a result, rainfall may increase again for several days after the 6th of August, particularly in the western slopes of the Central Highlands, the Sabragamo province and the Kandy and Norelia districts are likely to receive the highest rainfall during that period. Most of the areas that have received significant rainfall are located within the wet zone. Therefore, we urge residents living near the Nilvala River, Gin River, Kalu River, Kalani River, Attanagaloya, Mahara and the Mahaveli River to remain extremely vigilant during the coming days. In many cases, the heaviest rainfall occurs during the night. We have been issuing public advisories regarding this situation over the past several days.
මේ දින කීපයක සිට මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් අපි දැනුවත් වීම කරනවා.
අද රායි හෙට වෙනකොට සාමාන්‍ය වර්ෂාපතන ලැබුණොත්
As a precautionary measure, we opened the spill gates of the Kotmale Reservoir slightly at around 3 p.m. to reduce excess inflow in the event of further rainfall tonight and tomorrow. At present, there is no significant danger associated with this release, and based on current conditions, we do not expect to increase the discharge further. However, it is difficult to predict exactly how much rainfall may be received overnight. The lower Mahaveli Basin is not expected to face any major impact from the current rainfall event. If we consider the entire Mahaveli Basin, the reservoir system is currently at approximately 52% capacity. This means there is still around 48% available storage capacity remaining. This has been a short-term rainfall event influenced by the prevailing El Niño conditions, and we expect it to ease tomorrow. Therefore, there is no need for undue alarm. Nevertheless, if we are required to increase release from Kotmale Reservoir unexpectedly, the public will be informed immediately.
නමුත් අපි තව හදිසියෙ හරි කොත්මලේ වැඩි කරන්න උනොත් අපි සියලුම දෙනාට දැනුවත් කරනවා.
පහුගිය දිත්වා ව්‍යසනය සමගම
The heavy rainfall received in recent days has reactivated a number of landslide-prone locations that were affected during previous disaster events. These locations could become active again due to the continuing rainfall. We have identified 16,737 families living in high-risk areas and have already informed them of the risks they face. Residents in these locations are strongly advised to remain alert. Given the prevailing weather conditions, moving to a safer location would be the most appropriate action where necessary. People should not wait for warning notices alone before taking action. Personal safety must be the priority. During periods such as this, intense rainfall can occur within a short period. Therefore, if residents observe increasing rainfall intensity or signs of ground instability, they should leave the area immediately and move to a safer location.
Now, the severe weather conditions have caused havoc not just in Sri Lanka but in neighbouring India as well. Several parts of India have also been impacted quite heavily by the heavy rains and floods. The number of deaths in rain-related incidents across Kerala has risen to 15, Chief Minister V.D. Satheesan said on Monday, adding that 7 people are still missing.
As of 9 a.m. today, 316 relief camps were functioning across the Kerala state, sheltering 11,018 people displaced by the rain and flooding. The Chief Minister confirmed in a press conference after reviewing the flood situation in the state with top officials. The India Meteorological Department forecast heavy rainfall in the state on the 3rd and 6th August, accompanied by strong winds with speeds of 40 to 50 kilometers per hour. It advised fishermen not to venture into the Kerala, Karnataka, Lakshadweep coast on the 2nd and 3rd August due to the likelihood of strong winds of up to 60 kilometers per hour and rough sea conditions. The Indian National Centre for Ocean Information Services warned of high waves measuring 2.7 to 3.5 meters along the northern Kerala coast and advised fishermen and coastal residents to remain vigilant. In Assam, floods continue to affect 5 districts: Golaghat, Jorhat, Sivasagar, Charaideo and Dhemaji. The state administration is operating 54 relief camps and relief distribution centers, while the India Meteorological Department has issued a yellow alert forecasting heavy rainfall in isolated areas.
This is extreme weather.
Now on to more local news. The government's proposal to extend the retirement age of judges by 2 years will be presented to the cabinet today before being opened for public discussion. Minister of Justice and National Integration, Attorney at Law Mahara informed the Mahanaikatheras.
Now, the Justice Minister met with the Mahanaikatheras of the Malwatu and Askavi chapters of the Siam sect, as well as the Mahanaika of the Ramanya sect, to explain the rationale behind the proposed extension of the judicial retirement age.
Minister of Justice Mahara and Minister of Health and Mass Media Dr. Nalinda Jaitisa first met the most venerable Tibatuave Sri Sumangala Mahanaikathera of the Malwatu chapter.
In reality, this is not something we are trying to do only for the Supreme Court. The proposal covers all levels of the judiciary, including magistrates' courts, district courts, high courts, the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. Since 1978, there has been no revision to the retirement age. Judicial independence means that judges are able to hear and decide cases based on the evidence and the law, without fear or interference. Neither the legislature nor any other party can interfere in that process. Therefore, the amendment we are proposing is simply an increase in the retirement age and nothing more. In certain sectors, even when applications are called, we do not receive the required number of candidates. For example, when we sought to recruit 50 magistrates, only 33 applications were received. Even in the Government Analysts Department, the required number of applications was not received during the initial recruitment process. This is a broad issue. That is why proposals such as increasing the retirement age have become necessary. That is exactly one of the issues we have identified. Experienced lawyers often find other avenues more attractive. Therefore, in this year's budget, a comprehensive discussion and review is being undertaken regarding the salaries and allowances of judges. This is not merely about extending the retirement age. Any judge who wishes to retire after fulfilling the required conditions can still do so. However, if we want to retain experienced members of the judiciary, the service must remain attractive. That aspect will be addressed through the budget as well. We never intended to target or benefit any particular individual. However, increasing the retirement age of judges of the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal requires a constitutional amendment. For the High Court, District Court and Magistrates Court, an amendment to the Judicature Act would be sufficient. Both processes were intended to proceed in parallel. Unfortunately, some have highlighted only the constitutional amendment aspect.
Following the discussions, the ministers met the most venerable Varakagoda Sri Gnanaratana Mahanaikathera of the Askeri chapter and further explained the proposed judicial retirement age reforms.
The Court of Appeal today concluded hearing a writ petition filed by former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa seeking an order preventing his arrest and detention in connection with the ongoing investigations into the Easter Sunday terror attacks. Now, following the conclusion of the submissions, the Court of Appeal fixed the 22nd of September to deliver its ruling on whether the petition will be granted leave to proceed for hearing. The petition was taken up before a bench comprising Court of Appeal President Justice Ruhantabe Surya and Justice Sarath Disanaika. The bench further directed that any written submissions relating to the petition be filed before the 31st of August. In his petition, former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has named Inspector General of Police Priyanthavira Surya, Criminal Investigation Department Director Shania Besekara, Officer in charge of the CID's Investigative Unit Madhava Gunavardhana, and the Attorney General as respondents.
The Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption has filed indictments before the Colombo High Court against Yoshito Rajapaksa and former Navy Commander Admiral Wasantha Karannagoda. The charges against former Navy Commander Wasantha Karannagoda allege that while serving as commander of the Sri Lanka Navy between the 1st September 2006 and 8th June 2007, he unlawfully facilitated an opportunity for Yoshito Rajapaksa to participate in a training program conducted by the United Kingdom's Royal Navy, thereby causing a loss to the state. Indictments have also been filed against Yoshito Rajapaksa on allegations that he obtained an undue benefit through the same course of action.
SLPP General Secretary Attorney at Law Sagara Karyavasam issued a warning to Inspector General of Police Priyantha Veerasurya.
හිටපු පොලිස්පතිවරු 3 දෙනෙක්ට
Under the Janata Vimukthi Peramana-led government, 3 former Inspectors General of Police have faced what can only be described as very unfortunate outcomes. We also wish to respectfully tell the current Inspector General of Police, Priyantha Veerasurya, that it is time to stop serving the government and start serving the state and the people. Because we do not want the 37th Inspector General of Police to go down in history as an IGP who was beaten to death by people on the streets.
පොලිස්පතිවරයා 37 වෙනි පොලිස්පතිවරයා හැටියට ඉතිහාසගත වෙනවට.
Minister of Public Security Ananda Vijaypala says an investigation will be launched into the statement made by Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna General Secretary Attorney at Law Sagara Karyavasam.
As you know, Sagala Karyavasam and his political movement are one that sacrificed people for power. It is a violent political movement. What people like this are saying right now reflects their cruelty, barbarism and mental instability in their minds, because they have repeatedly proven that they are capable of taking such actions just to gain power. At this time, the current Inspector General of Police is carrying out his duties efficiently and effectively. It is precisely at a time like this that they make statements like this. Many people in their political movement have been involved in various frauds, bribery and corruption, and the looting of public assets and public property. Investigations into those matters are being conducted very efficiently. These corrupt individuals are now scared, and that is why they are making such deranged statements. Therefore, we are not taking this statement lightly at all. We will immediately launch an investigation into this. I have given instructions to conduct an investigation. Based on that, the necessary next steps will be taken. Several key revelations have emerged from ongoing investigations into the unrest at the Mahara prison, where a group of inmates allegedly engaged in violent acts and caused extensive damage to prison property. Now, the findings have surfaced during investigations into the incident.
According to investigators, around 4 inmates climbed onto a prison roof on Saturday evening without any reasonable justification. Police said the inmates claimed from the rooftop that they could no longer remain in the prison. Investigations have further revealed that while prison officials were attempting to bring the inmates down safely, another group of inmates became agitated and began acting aggressively. The group allegedly attempted to break through the prison's main gate and escape. As the situation escalated, prison authorities sought assistance from the police and the Special Task Force to bring the unrest under control. Police stated that inmates repeatedly acted in a provocative manner and set fire to several prison properties, causing extensive damage. The unrest continued throughout Saturday night, with inmates striking prison walls and engaging in acts of vandalism. After midnight, a group of inmates reportedly set fire to the prison kitchen. Police suspect that the actions of the inmates may have been carried out according to a pre-planned strategy. Investigators also revealed that inmates used stones and debris obtained from damaged structures within the prison to attack security personnel on multiple locations. Meanwhile, following the Negombo prison incident, prison authorities had adopted a security measure under which firearms, weapons, food supplies and medicine were stored outside prison premises. The Department of Prisons said this precaution prevented firearms and weapons from falling into the hands of inmates during the Mahara incident. In addition, inmates allegedly attacked several houses located in the vicinity of the prison.
සම්පූර්ණ අපේ ඇඳ උඩට වහල උළු කැට ඔක්කොම මම නිදාගෙන ඇඳ උඩට තමයි වැටුනේ. මේ වහලට ප්‍රේකයි පහට වගේ ගහන ගත්තේ කොහමද දෙකයි කාලයකම ගෙවුණා. ගල්
උදයන් ඉද්දී එකපාරට දඩබඩාන් ගාලා කළුගල් ගඩොල් වැටෙන්න ගත්ත සීට් කඩාගෙන. ඊට පස්සේ ඔලුවට පුඩු කොට්ට තියාගෙන පාරෙන් එහා පැත්තේ ගෙදරට දිව්වා. එක ගේකට නෙමෙයි දිගටම මේ තියෙන ගෙවල් ඔක්කොන්ටම මේ ඒ වගේම මේ අලාභානේ වුණා. ඉතින් බෙලෙක්ක නම්මනම් ඒගොල්ලන්ට පුළුවන් ඒවායින් ඒගොල්ලෝ ගැහුවා.
අපි නිදියන් හිටියේ. නිදිය ඉඳලා එකපාරට ගල් වැදුනා වහලට. ඊට පස්සේ නේවිගේ හිටිය පාරේ ඊට පස්සේ ඒගොල්ලෝ ඔයගොල්ලෝ එළියට එන්න කියලා. එළියට ඇවිල්ලා එනකොටත් වයිෆ් මෙතනින් යනකොටත් ගලක් වැදුනා කකුලට වයිෆ්. එයාගේ කකුල දුවල්නා ඊට පස්සේ අපි ආයෙ ගියා ඇතුළට. ආයෙ ගල් ගියා. ආයෙ ගල් ගාලා මේ ලොකු බ්ලොක් ගල් තියෙනවා පිටිපස්ස.
Was the situation orchestrated by a third party? This was the response from the Minister of Justice.
We have taken a very firm stance against drugs. It is possible that the reduction in the amount of narcotics entering prisons may have contributed to this situation. That is one aspect. The other relates to certain circumstances surrounding the incident itself. For example, it was unusual to see so many relatives gathered around the prison at the time. We observed a number of such factors. However, I am only raising a possible explanation and not making a definitive claim. Whether a third party was involved, instigated or encouraged the unrest is something that must be determined through investigations.
දැවුස්වද කියන එක ඒක විමර්ශන හරහා හොයා ගන්නට ඕන. මහර සිද්ධියේ අපිට නිරීක්ෂණය වුණා බන්ධනාගාර නිලධාරී මේ රැඳවියන්ගෙන් ඈත් වෙලා ඔවුන්ට නිදාසේ තමන්ගේ හිතුමතයට ගිනි කියන්න කඩන්න විනාශ කරන්න කියලා බන්ධනාගාර නිලධාරී ඉවත් වෙලා තියෙනවා. මේ ඉවත් වෙන්නේ ඔවුන්ට නීතිය ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න තියෙන බය නිසා නේද? ඔවුන් හිතුමතේ ගිනි තියාගන්න ඉඩ හරලා ඇතුණා නෙමෙයි.
It is not correct to say that officers simply stood back and allowed inmates to do as they pleased. Of course, preventing damage to property is important, but preventing the loss of human life is even more important. With nearly 4,000 inmates inside the prison, officers had to respond very carefully based on the staff strength available at the time. It was precisely because the available staff were insufficient that assistance was eventually sought from the STF and the military to resolve the situation. Had the military and STF been deployed immediately while inmates were in an extremely agitated state, there was a possibility that the incident could have resulted in a significant loss of life. Looking back now, it is evident that the precautionary steps taken by the senior prison officials were appropriate and ultimately successful.
ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ ආරක්ෂිත පියවර සහ ඒවා සාර්ථක බව දැන් පේනවා.
A workshop to mark the inception of the development of landslide resilience, analytical and advisory system for Sri Lanka's National Building Research Institute was held in Colombo today.
A workshop to launch the development of the Landslide Resilience, Analytic and Advisory System, or LARES, for Sri Lanka's National Building Research Institute took place today in Colombo.
We all recall when Cyclone Dithua took place. Of course, it was unprecedented. Of course, it was very much surprising, but I think the kind of impact that we got, we certainly had opened up a lot of the discussion that all our investment in disaster preparedness or disaster mitigation not certainly yielding the kind of result that all of us in the government system that we would like to see. However, I think this situation is not only, and it is at times beyond our control, because every time we prepare for some disaster, the next one tests us for the next level. We have seen in the case of earthquake in recent time in Japan.
Senior scientist at NBRI, Dr. Danushka Jaitilaka, explained the concept of the LARES system.
For the decision makers, for the infrastructure planners, for the public even, so they can do simple analysis using LARES. Enhance the decision making capabilities for our local level decision makers, for the district and divisional secretaries, or even the community leaders or the stakeholder agencies can take decisions about the landslide risk related decisions by using this system with the analytic capabilities, with the available information, so they can take some decisions by using the LARES system. So LARES will enable a community to report their ideas, requests, the community reporting will be there. So this is a two-way communication. There's a two-way communication in the LARES platform.
Technical sessions focused on the current landslide information systems, user needs assessment and the proposed LARES architecture. A panel discussion also explored the future of climate hazard and risk information systems in Sri Lanka, highlighting the importance of collaboration among key agencies to enhance disaster preparedness and resilience. The project, organized in collaboration with the Asian Disaster Preparedness Center and the National Building Research Institute of Sri Lanka, aims to strengthen the country's landslide risk monitoring and advisory capabilities through an advanced analytic and information system. The workshop brought together representatives from government institutions, disaster management agencies, and technical experts to discuss the project's objectives, expected outcomes, and implementation timeline.
On to your sports news for tonight.
Today's sports update is brought to you by Jama Ratnaikar. Jama.
Thank you guys, and a very good evening from Primetime News. On to sports news. Sri Lanka's national team for the 2026 World Athletics Under-20 Championships departed the island in the early hours of today ahead of their participation in the prestigious global event. The championship is scheduled to be held in Oregon, United States, where the country's emerging young athletes are set to compete against some of the world's best under-20 talent on the international stage.
Sri Lanka's team for the 2026 World Athletics U20 Championships departed the island in the early hours of today. The Sri Lankan contingent comprises 17 athletes who are set to compete in a number of events including the 200 meters, 400 meters, 800 meters, 4x400 meters relay, high jump, triple jump and javelin throw. The championship will be held from the 5th of August to the 9th of August. The Meteorological Premier League softball cricket tournament was successfully conducted at the Meteorological Mahavidyalaya grounds. Organised by the Meteorological Super 7 Sports Club, the day-night tournament featured 12 teams competing for top honours. The final saw Meteorological Super 7 Sports Club take on Panagura United Sports Club. Meteorological Super 7s emerged victorious to claim the championship title. Dharmaraja Mahavidyalaya Piliyandala emerged victorious in their annual cricket encounter against Methodist High School Moratua. The match was played at the Desoisa grounds in Moratua. Batting first, Methodist High School managed to score 62 runs. Dharmaraja Mahavidyalaya successfully chased down the target to secure victory after losing 7 wickets.
And with that, we wrap up Primetime News for tonight.
Thank you for watching. Good night.